Hey Derby World, it's Jill, and most of us are in our off season. We just finished our season in November, and now we're at the period where we're starting to think about training again. And about a month ago, I asked you guys what you might like to work on as far as rehab or injury prevention. So we're going to talk to you today about what to do during this time period before you get back into derby mode.
I have been working with Jill. She's been coming to train at the gym, my gym, for a couple years now, I want to say. She's, very knowledgeable in her training, but it's always fun when she asks questions on how to fine tune something in case she's not sure of something. But we were talking about maybe working with the Derby World and talking about off-season training and how to better you guys from there. So off-season training is basically an opportunity for you to, one, heal any injuries that you may or may not have. And if you have them, you want to work on those so that when you get back into season, you're at 100% go. So nothing is lingering and nothing is holding you back. A lot of times for athletes that come in to work with me and they're off season, I do a lot of testing to look at their right and their left side of their body to make sure everything is equal, because if things aren't equal, you're setting yourself up for injury. Another thing for off season, it's an opportunity to rest, but also to, once you're balanced out, to go into a strength training program to get you ready to sustain and be able to tolerate a full season. And so there was a question put out on social media. It was on a Facebook post, and it was, what kinds of things do you guys want to learn about to help you better yourselves? And a lot of things were focused on hip mobility, hip strengthening, knee pain, how to handle that, and ankle strengthening, because there's a lot of ankle sprains. So that's what we're going to focus on, are those three areas, and give you a little bit of insight and maybe hopefully help some of you guys on how to make those situations better for you. Okay, so we're going to work with you on the three body parts that we spoke about earlier, ankles, knees, and hips. We're going to work from the bottom up. So we're going to start with ankles first. For ankle conditioning or ankle strengthening, my biggest thing that I like to work on are basically the whole route lower extremity, so from your knee down. So I like to do 3-wave calf raises. I like to do a lot of ankle mobility, ABCs, circles, ankle pumps, things like that. I also like to do some footwork or some exercises with your foot on the ground, just to work on some stabilization. Balance stuff will come later on as we work with your knee and hip, but that's critical. So the first thing I'm going to have Jill do is just some ankle circles, okay? So you go nice and easy in the clockwise direction, and then you're going to go in the counterclockwise direction. And she has a 1-pound weight around her ankle just to add a little bit of resistance. You can obviously add more if you feel the need to, but you're not trying to literally fatigue the muscle, you're just trying to strengthen it up a little bit. Now we're going to go into the ABCs. I know that you've all heard this, but it's actually a really functional tool. Your ankle moves in different planes in different directions, so the ABC actually takes care of all of the planes of the ankle motion, or all of the degrees of freedom, if you want to call it that, and gets them strong. So we go A to Z with the ankle weight on. The next exercise she's going to go into is what I call ankle pumps. So it's a nice, easy, pull your toes all the way back and then point your toes all the way down. So this works on the shin muscle as well as the calf muscle with her knee fully extended. Okay, for knee injuries, you want to make sure that you look at your ankle, knee, and hip mobility, making sure that it's efficiently working together. You also want to make sure that your quads are strong, but that mostly your hamstrings and your glute muscles are even stronger. Your quads are your accelerators, and your hamstrings and your glutes are your decelerators. So if your quads are pulling, and your hamstrings can't slow down, you're setting yourself up for 1, injury, and 2, to not be as quick and efficient as you want to be. So we're going to focus on that as well. All right, so here's Jill again. We're in standing now, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And what I want you to do is I want you to work on toe calf raises now. So first one you're going to do is with your toes forward. Go nice and easy up on your toes, and then come back down. Do that about 15 times. Then you're going to point your toes in and do the same exercise, making sure that your knee stays straight. Okay, do that 15 times, or give or take. And then you're gonna do the outside, so point your toes out and go up and down. Again, making sure that your knee stays straight. This actually helps work the entire lower extremity, not just the calf muscle.
Okay. so one of the most simple pieces of equipment that I own is a balance disc. I got mine on Amazon for about $15. It's very easy to use. Well, it's challenging. We're now into the knee portion of the rehab and exercise. So this is something that I do to keep my knees and hips and ankles all really strong, but we're gonna talk about why it's important to keep those muscles firing.
Okay, so the first exercise I'm going to have Jill do is a little single leg balance with some hip circumduction or circles. Circumduction is the big, medical term. But basically you're going to balance on that left leg, maintain a nice easy bend in the knee, and then you're going to circle around the cone so that you can make sure you're maintaining a full circle and you're not keeping it short. The biggest thing you want to do is to keep your toe pointing forward the whole time so that you make sure your hip is actually engaging and not your quad. If your toe points out at any time, toe meaning that right foot, then your quad's kicking in and not your hip. All right, so now we kind of switched the disc and we went to the BOSU. The BOSU I really like it, but it's a little bit expensive, so it's not easily affordable for many. So now I have Jill balancing on her right leg, and we're just doing a nice, easy hip abduction out. Working on the glute medius and the glute maximus muscles. Trying again, keep those toes pointing forward on the left leg and maintaining a nice easy bend in the right knee. All right, now Jill's balancing again on her right knee. She's bringing her left knee up into a nice little march, hip flexion, and then hinging forward into an RDL and touching the cone with her left hand, or as close as she can. This is a great move to work on hinging at your waist, as well as balance and stabilizing that right knee and hip and ankle actually. So you're getting a full body workout with this. Now with hips, a lot of people were complaining about, or not complaining, questioning about hip mobility. They thought that, from what it sounded like, a lot of people think that they have weak hip flexors. And in my opinion, and I've never evaluated anyone, but this is just my thought process, how my theory is, your hips are already strong, you just don't realize it. The problem is they're probably really tight, so you don't have full flexibility. And again, your glutes and your hamstrings probably aren't as strong as they need to be so that they can't work together efficiently as a group. So we're gonna work on mobility and flexibility in your hips, as well as some strengthening ideas that you can do on your own to strengthen up your whole body.
Okay, now we're going into the hip portion, and this is actually something that I travel with all of the time. It's easily portable. I throw it in my suitcase, I keep it at home, I sneak it into my gym. But anyhow, I use this for hip strength and mobility all of the time. And it's really important as skaters to keep them strong and flexible at the same time. So anyhow, I'd highly recommend this. I'm going to show you some exercises that I do daily, especially before a lifting session.
So the first thing Jill's doing is kind of a monster walk. It's where her base is a little bit wider than normal and her legs and toes, or her hips are coming out forward. Make sure your toes and hips are forward at all times when you're doing this movement. Even when you step backwards, make sure your toes and hips are forward. This works on your glute muscles, forcing them to fire and strengthen into that movement. Anytime that your toe points out, again, your quads are kicking in, and you don't want that. When you step backwards, you're gonna find a lot of times your toes want to kick outwards, but you don't want that to happen. You wanna drive back with your heel, keeping everything nice and square forward. So this is a mini band sidestep squat. So the biggest thing you wanna do is you wanna make sure that you start with your feet together and you take that step to either direction, making sure your knees don't cave in at all. That's not what you want. You wanna pull against that, resistance, forcing your hip muscles to fire, and again, strengthening up the glute hamstring complex.
Okay, so we just showed you some basic exercises for the ankles, the knees, and the hips, and now we're going to move into something a little bit more advanced, and you can start combining some of those exercises and movements. So what I have here is a basic therapy band. You can tie it to anything in your home, and we're going to work on the adduction, so insides of your legs, and that'll help balance out your hips. What I have some of my skaters do is do small circles like you would in skating, so that circular motion. So you use the circular motion to not only skate and propel forward, but also to drive and make a hit. So anyhow, you move away from there, and you're gonna do mini circles with the band. Again, toes facing forward, small circles. And then you can also add in a balance element. So again, just use your disc, same band. It's just as challenging. And again, we're gonna work on that adduction. And on here, if you're working on your crossovers for cornering, you can also bring your free leg in front of you as well. So right in front of the other toe. Again, keep your toes and knees and hips facing forward and try and hold that position. So that's something advanced that you can try if you have some of these simple tools. And anyhow, I hope you had fun with it and do all of the basic things. That's what I do, and that's what keeps me healthy and strong and continuing as an athlete and a derby player.